Why are you still alive? Fear of death. And the unwavering feeling that there's something I have to do before I die. I don't know what it is, but I think I'll know once I've done it. When I get depressed to the point of being suicidal, it's not that I want to die, I just don't want to feel depressed anymore, same, IDKY. But when I think about it, I don't feel at peace with myself. I feel like there's something I need to do. It isn't necessarily important or big, but I feel like I can only die in peace after I do that thing. Which I don't even know what it is. This is odd to me, as I'm perfectly okay with not doing a damn thing until I die. Don't care about any marks on history nor that one experience. I just want to be comfortable and entertained until the time comes. That's all there is to it. Mine is sort of this, not fear of the death itself, but fear of the unknown for what's next. Do we just cease to exist and everything just goes black? Does our subconscious just continue to exist in some other medium, and we keep reliving the same life over and over again? Are we born again? Like, this shit keeps me up at night, and not knowing what actually happens is fucking with me head. I've been having this same issue. I'd call it about a year ago that I came to the sudden and terrifying realization of what not being alive could actually mean. All my life to that point I was quite content with the status quo, but it was really like I was suddenly staring into the abyss one day. I don't know what comes after death, nor even necessarily what I want to come, but in the end I think my life overall shifted to a better direction after this realization. I used to take nature for granted. But the idea of never seeing a grassy field or a tree again, stuck suspended in a void, or, maybe worse, my being erased and not existing to have the memory of looking across a field of grass in the first place, completely changed the way I view what's important in my life. If you don't have easy access to mental health care, but do have access to melatonin, I genuinely recommend it. I find that I only get scared about when I'm in bed, in the dark, waiting to sleep. When I'm up and about, accomplishing even small things, the terror never visits me. It's just when I'm stuck with nothing but my own thoughts that it gets really bad, and not being awake to do the nighttime contemplating in the first place probably saved me. Super long reply. Apologies. I just always feel like I need to add myself to messages like these. It makes me feel like I'm less alone in these thoughts. It is a habit. At this point, dying is like getting out of my comfort zone. And I am not into new things like that right now. Very good answer. Because when I was young and made a horrible decision, someone noticed before I hurt myself or others. I was driving home from my parents' house, and it was late at night. I had been driving for about an hour with 20 minutes left to go, mostly on a major highway, when I realized how tired I was. Being young and a server, I was used to pushing through fatigue, so I thought it was no big deal. The next thing I know, a car full of people are honking and waving at me to wake me up. They smiled at me and stayed beside me the rest of my trip. I have no idea who they were or if I imagined them, but they saved my life and maybe someone else's. I am grateful to those strangers. The next time I noticed I was tired while driving, I pulled over in the nearest subdivision and napped in my car. I will never drive tired again. Well, that was unexpected answer. Good on them. More people die from driving sleepy than driving drunk. I know a few people who had siblings working graveyard and or were nurses who lost their lives this way. No volume of yelling will fix it. I worked as a department manager in home electronics while I was going to college. I went on to get an engineering master's degree. I mention this because I am female and have worked in fields where people tend to expect to encounter males, especially in positions of authority. A guy was looking for an adapter for a device he was purchasing. For some reason our buyers didn't stock this particular adapter. But I had the exact same device at my house and had been through the challenge of finding the very same adapter this dude needed. He brought a different adapter to the counter along with the device, and I mentioned the adapter wasn't compatible. He said I didn't know what I was talking about. I tried to explain I had the same device and had found the adapter at a different retailer up the street. But he interrupted and started yelling, calling me little girl, and demanded to see the manager. He said, and I do mean man, because I want to talk to the guy in charge. All this over a simple $5 adapter. I stayed calm, because I had been yelled at many times by unruly customers. I found it was best to let them vent and not react. I said, I am the manager, and he went completely berserk at that, screaming with so much rage, he looked like every blood vessel in his neck was going to rupture. He yelled that I was lying and called me every insulting female term in the book. A male employee was making his way toward the commotion at this point, and when the customer saw him he yelled, "You need to stop hiring stupid bitches. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She said this adapter won't work for this." The employee who approached was on my team and was trained by me. He said, "Sir, this is our manager. She's very knowledgeable. If she says it's not compatible, then it's not compatible." I had to strongly school my expression to not smirk or laugh at that point. The dude had been relatively calm talking to my team member, and instantly flipped back to full-on volcano when he turned to me. I simply let him yell, and rung up his items. He yelled for another 20 seconds, or so before realizing I was waiting for him to pay. By this point about 10 employees were standing there. He called me several more foul names as I gave him his receipt and pointed to the return policy, just in case it didn't work out for him. 45 minutes later a woman came in with the adapter, receipt, and ripped up packaging. She said she needed to return the item. She had a very sheepish expression. I said I needed to try to fix the packaging because the return policy, as explained on the receipt, required the packaging be intact. She said, "I'm sorry. My husband bought this and I am guessing you dealt with him. I apologize for how he treated you." She was very soft-spoken and all I could imagine was how this dude probably treated her. I had a lot of sympathy for her and appreciated her courage to apologize. I said I would fix the packaging and I offered to call the other store that did sell the adapter to see if they had it in stock. She thanked me about 20 times after I called and had them put one on hold for her. She left with a smile and picked up the adapter. I saw that couple every now and then after that. The man would never come to the counter. He would just sneer at me from 10 feet away while I helped his wife. Or take his wife by the elbow to someone else to be rung up. The moral of the story as far as I see it. Even if a customer is correct about something, yelling never fixes the problem. It's just as easy to speak politely and firmly to ask for what you want. Why is that so hard for so many people? I imagine jerks like this dude had parents who would give them anything they wanted to stop their 2-year-old tantrums, and they just never outgrew it. And the rest of the world pays the price. There are too many babies going around in adult-sized bodies. Yet another tale from the other side, another UN Karen story for your enjoyment. I went to Wally World today for the week's groceries. I am diabetic, and about halfway through my list, my head started getting fuzzy and the first drops of sweat were forming on my scalp, meaning I was becoming hypoglycemic. I happened to be in the candy aisle, so I grabbed something and opened it up and chowed a couple of pieces. Nearby was a personal shopper doing her thing. I asked her if she had a radio. She did not. I explained my situation and said I would be grateful if someone could stay with me for 5 to 10 minutes while the sugar took hold. She said she would get someone and she'd be right back. A few moments later she returned with 2 others. They brought with them apple juice and a scooter. The first girl went back to picking her order, and the other 2 stayed with me until my scalp dried off and my confusion cleared. I thanked them profusely, and we parted ways. I finished and rung out. Then headed to the customer service desk. Thought I'd have a bit of fun. Abridged and paraphrased for brevity, I demand to see a manager. The woman behind the desk gave me a look of "oh sure, not again," and got on the radio. A manager shows up, and L started again. I want a manager. And it's about her, pointing to one of the two that stayed with me. What did she do? I had a diabetic crisis, and she stayed with me while my sugar came back up. I demand she gets an attaboy. I then explained that 3 were involved, and all should get attaboys. The manager was proud and tickled. When I got home, I called the corporate CS line, repeated the story and said they need attaboys from on high. PS. I kept the apple juice bottle, and paid for it when I checked out. The bag of candy, too.